Good. How about we get going? You will really provide us with the expression of the day today. What is it and why? Fire, since I think this is a tech market that will be ablaze, not only for going into the year's end this week. However, what I trust at the present time, this computer-based intelligence unrest is hitting its next stage, and I think this is still the beginning of fourth modern upset. Oak, still the beginning. However, you generally say it's 9 o'clock. It must be 9:30. No, and I've said it. I really said it. Presently, it's 9:30 to 10 p.m. in the man-made intelligence party that goes to 4 a.m. Okay, so you have various updates in the space, explicitly in the product space with regards to simulated intelligence. One of them is Snowflake. The other one's really flexible. We've been sufficiently lucky to have the chief on the show. Sort of a wide-based play. They do cloud. They do security too. Why these two names? See, I think. And we've come about a ton here on the show now. Subsequent subordinate, the product piece of artificial intelligence, is here. I think in 2025, that will be the key. You take a gander at versatile, Snowflake, names like MongoDB. They're the ones now that record names like Palantir. As far as the product, the utilization cases, I accept the product simulated intelligence age is currently here. 2025, that will be up front. 5 to 7.8 billion for every quarter. That was simply at last. Many idea could be a couple billion. Thus, as this all works out and you begin to take a gander at numbers throughout the following, call it 12 to year and a half. The backup parent of computer-based intelligence, Jensen NVIDIA. Keep on being in that Mount Rushmore, and it simply shows it's beginning with NVIDIA. Presently, second, third, and fourth subordinates working out. That is the reason it's 9:30, 10 p.m. in this computer-based intelligence party cost piece. We're looking at something that could at last be billions of income. Thus, when you really take a gander at what this implies, $75 billion, you'd be like, goodness, it's costly. I glance out 3-4 years from now. Might Palantir at some point be the following profit, the following Salesforce, the following SAP? That is my thought process we're discussing, and that is the reason. Look, the bears will emerge from hibernation discussing valuation and different regions that are controllers. Does that help both of these names, or would they say they are nonpartisan to that? Indeed, I believe it's really bullish in light of the fact that, in our view, with KH going to be out, FTC, this will be critical as far as arrangement making. I think these are organizations that will go into all-out attack mode. And afterward, then again, you're about to have huge M and A from Vital, as well as on the monetary M and an aside. Furthermore, that is the reason programming has failed to beat expectations. However, assuming you search in 2025, I think in about a year, we stay here and we're like, programming is fire. Since this is only the beginning of what I view as 9:30, 10 p.m., this is the simulated intelligence of Hevel. We're discussing $2 trillion of simulated intelligence capex now. Programming, they were on the velvet ropes behind, NVIDIA, Microsoft, hyperscalers. Programming is like, let us into the party. The part's here, the part's here. We should continue on toward NVIDIA. A report from the data itemizing how NVIDIA could construct a cloud business that would match any semblance of Amazon Web Administrations. Jim Creator says it could produce $150 billion in income from programming and cloud administrations over the long haul. President Jensen Huang has said that cloud and simulated intelligence programming will be an exceptionally critical business over the long haul, and the organization is poised to create $2 billion every year from selling just programming. Assuming that they ventured into the cloud business, that could be a gigantic headwind for Amazon, which has been the cloud monster in the space for such countless years here. I accept Amazon Web Administrations makes up almost 20% of Amazon's general income, and a huge part of that is in the cloud. They've had this kind of competition relationship with NVIDIA, so assuming they in all actuality do begin to have their lunch, I can hardly hold on to see the hook emerge. However, Amazon needs to construct its own computer-based intelligence chips. Isn't that so? Furthermore, in the end, perhaps not buy as numerous NVIDIA chips. So seeing that sort of to and fro is intriguing. What's more, the other thing here, Maddie, that simply interests me about this story is somewhat the exemplary financial backer story of how an organization develops as they give you an item. Isn't that so? So NVIDIA has constructed these exceptionally fruitful artificial intelligence chips. Everybody needs them. How does NVIDIA follow the client through that excursion? Correct? You? What did they ultimately work out that is presently one of the biggest pieces of their business? The administration's business. Correct. They keep on selling you things once you utilize the item and kind of go through that client venture with you. NVIDIA's computer-based intelligence chips are much more confounded and significantly more B2B, and somewhat unique in relation to that, however. To me, I believe it's a fair correlation with contemplate. Oak, everybody purchased our chips. How would we turn into a piece of the following variant of simulated intelligence? We were talking before last hour about how there's kind of this shift from the foundation to how would we manage this? Cloud administrations is an enormous, tremendous piece of that following stage. On the off chance that NVIDIA can create $150 billion in income off of this, then you begin to discuss, perhaps man-made intelligence chip request isn't the whole piece of the financial backer story. Since I think for the enormous piece of the most recent year and a half, it's been what might be said about when everybody has an adequate number of chips. Correct? What's more, that is all the conversation. Speed. Perhaps the conversation begins to move a smidgen in the event that we keep on hearing more about this on coming profit calls. Furthermore, $150 billion. I accept AWS gets about $100 billion from its cloud business, so that would them say moreover. We believe we will beat the greatest person in the room here as well, which is fascinating pushing ahead. I simply think it'll be captivating to see. NVIDIA, to your point, has sort of altered itself on numerous occasions as of now. They began as a computer game chipmaker. Presently, they're this man-made intelligence Goliath. Will they likewise become an enormous cloud player? They have a great deal of contest, so we'll check whether they can haul it out. They have a great deal of contest in a variety of spaces, correct. In this way, assuming that you have that chip contest that we've been discussing over the course of the long time, perhaps your answer is to cross a tad and have different wellsprings of income that can likewise get. In this way, surely not a tomorrow story. I wouldn't agree it's something vital to follow, particularly on the off chance that you're thinking about holding NVIDIA long term. Also, the development past that chip story into different wellsprings of income could be somewhat alluring. More on Broadcom, which has been, I'd say, our late-stage FOMO truly prevailing name, his teaking lobby new business sectors journalist for the organization. Thus, Diane, what a couple of meetings we have seen honestly in Broadcom shares. Well, it has been wonderful to watch. It's really floated a ton of the general shortcoming we found in the remainder of Semis and a portion of these man-made intelligence-type victors. In any case, I mean unbiasedly having an exceptional year. Thus, walk us through a portion of the investigator commotion today. No doubt, so Morgan Stanley is out with some discourse inside the area, and something that stood apart is clearly their critique on Broadcom. Thus, shares are moving around 4% higher off the rear of a portion of this bullish and energetic evaluation that we're seeing concerning Broadcom. They've raised their cost focus on Broadcom to $265 per share. They recently had a value focus of $233 per share. They're keeping an overweight rating on the stock. And they just discussed the potential inside the man-made intelligence development story for Broadcom. Where Broadcom has been benefiting, I ought to express, is from the development inside ASIC, the application explicit coordinated circuit, that sort of chip, versus the GPU as that NVIDIA is known for. As the artificial intelligence story develops and extrapolates, and more organizations need options, this is where Broadcom can come in. A few organizations are viewing at it as an option in contrast to the GPUs. A piece of it is on the grounds that the expense of those chips, the GPUs, are simply more costly than the ASICs, so that is one vantage point. And afterward, the manner in which processors process data. In this way, that could be a recipient. It as of now has been. It's been known for having these three major players. It has three heavyweights as its clients. We're discussing letter set, Meta, and ByteDance. However, there have been late reports and investigator analysis saying they are purportedly working with Apple on their own simulated intelligence chip. And that has been one of the discussions we've been having about potential portion of the overall industry leaving away from NVIDIA, for example, as others foster their own computer-based intelligence explicit chips. Along these lines, something else that stood apart to me. Morgan Stanley says, while